is this third commandment that we found over in Exodus chapter 20 verse 7, "You should not take the name of Jehovah your God in vain, for Jehovah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain." Is this commandment still something that is important in modern times? Well, in order to figure this out, we are needing to be looking into the New Testament to see what we can find out. Acts chapter 4 verse 12 says, "Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved." Through this verse we are told that the only way that we can get salvation is through God. There is not only none other as it is quoted in this verse, however it goes further by the next word, none other name. This next word points out the importance of how there is no one other than God that is able to be holy and to save. However, through this verse we can also see the importance that there is no other name to call God, meaning that we are not allowed to take his name in vain. There are other verses out there that talk about how we are supposed to speak, found in Colossians chapter 3 verse 8, where it says, "But now ye also put off all these, anger, wrath, malice, blaspheme, filthy communications out of your mouth." This verse talks about all the bad and negative things that we either shouldn't be doing or is a characteristic that shouldn't be associated with us. While the first couple things on this list here, like anger, wrath, and malice, are things that shouldn't be us, however, the main reason I mention this verse here is because of the last two, blaspheme and filthy communications out of your mouth, which goes to what we have talked about some before, with blaspheme being defined as profane desecration or taking the name of God in vain, speaking harmful of God or his attributes, expressing disrespect or reverence towards God, insults against God or Christ and their followers. All that goes to show that what this verse is talking about is all of the proper communications that we need to be doing. With the proper communications means that we are needing to speak to God properly and not speak to him and use his name in vain. All of this ties into the last point it talks about, filthy communication. This is another way that it talks about the vain name calling of the Lord. When it comes to the worldly definition of this word filth, Webster defines it as foul or putrid matter, or moral corruption or defilement. However, when we look into more of a spiritual definition, this word filthy, we get something that is foul, corrupt, morally polluted. Because of this definition of the word here, we start to get more of an idea of what this verse means about this filthy communication. Through this we can see how it goes together. If we have filthy communication that comes from us, there's a good chance that if we are doing that, then some of that would be blaspheme and taking the Lord's name in vain. There's one more verse that we are going to look at in this section of our study, and that is found in Romans chapter 2 verse 24, where it says, "For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written." Now, while this verse specifically says that the name of God was being blasphemed, I think it is important here to look at the verse before it, found in Romans chapter 2 verse 23, where it says, "Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law dishonorest thou God." What this verse is basically talking about is, why would we boast or claim to be glorying in the law of the Lord when at the same time, if we just turn around and break it? Which then translates into the 24th verse, where it talks about the specific instance of how the law was being broken in this case. So whenever we now combine these two verses, it means that we aren't able to say on one hand that we are worshiping God when we just go around and blaspheme. Because as we talked about, how can we take the Lord's name in vain, meaning blaspheme, but at the same time say that we are worshiping Him? This would just be like saying if you love school or your job, but then every second you could, you are also complaining about it. Worshipping and taking the Lord's name in vain are two polar opposites. You cannot do both of these at the same time and be truthful. This is why this third commandment here is something that is still important even today.